Today I would like to look at testing, and especially multiple choice testing. Yikes. Now, I want to give you a little background at this point about my training. I got my bachelor's degree not in education but in experimental psychology, and then got certified to teach. So there's a subtle difference there. I still had to take education courses and that sort of thing. But I also learned about how to train, say, animals, how medical experiments are done on animals, how we can extrapolate certain trained behaviors in animals and look at how they show up in human behaviors. So one of my professors, Dr. Cormack there at New Mexico Tech, he had trained and knew about how the National Testing Service created questions for their standardized tests. And so he spent a significant part of my class on testing, where he taught about how a really well-designed multiple choice test looks and how it functions when a group of students take it. So the first thing I need to do is use some language that will help us understand each other in reference to multiple choice testing. And I'm going to use language that he often used. And I'm just going to give a little advice in each one of these where I talk about multiple choice testing, because multiple choice testing is a big thing. It's huge. And there's a lot to be said about it. There's a lot of ways it can be used, and it is particularly well designed to fit into computer testing. So we are going to spend a little time on it, because I think in the end, a good teacher can actually use multiple choice tests in a very practical way, and they can reveal things to a good teacher that other tests might not. So let's start with a small caveat. Tests take the most precious commodity, time. Now, when you can write a really good essay test in very little time. You can write a few essay questions that students are going to respond to and give a lot of information to, and you can learn a lot from what they know in these essay tests. And I think essay tests are very, very useful, and I will be talking about them. They're generative for the student, so they're great. Here's the downside. If you write an essay test, it might take you as few as 15 minutes to write an essay test, but it's going to take you hours to grade it. The multiple choice test advantage is it's going to take you hours to make it, but it's going to take no time to grade. So you're going to be using that precious commodity of time no matter what. So can we construct a multiple choice test, which I personally love to do, a multiple choice test in a way that really makes it useful and not just an easy thing to cheat on? So let's start with just one question. The question that forms the heart of the multiple choice test is the form you choose. So all the questions on a multiple choice test should have the same number of options for the answer. In other words, if you write a multiple choice test that has choices for each question, A, B, C, D, you need to do that consistently throughout. If you don't have A, B, C, D throughout the multiple choice portion, statistically, you've fouled the water. You can't really analyze that the way you should be able to. So, on a multiple choice test, the part that they read first, that's not the answer, that sort of sets up the choice for the student, is called the root. And then the options for answers are called the stems. On a multiple choice test, you want the vast majority of the information in the question to be in the root, not the stems. The longer the stems get, the harder the question gets. If you have a short root and 4 long stems, the question is too hard, even for college students. There's too much sorting that goes on and comparative thinking that goes on when you have long stems and a short root. So your root should be long. The second thing you need to be aware of in your question is don't make the mistake of always making the right answer the longest stem. That can be detected by students, even if they're not trying to. They can detect that. And if they detect that in your structures, they're going to go for the longest answer even if they aren't sure or even if they haven't read the material being tested. So watch for that. Try to make sure that the longest response being right is only true for about a fourth to a third of the questions on your test. That way, statistically, it will not be significant. See? Isn't that great? And many people don't think about that, but it's very common in homemade or class-made or teacher-made multiple choice tests to make the longest option the right option. And students who figure out that a teacher does this no longer learn as much because they don't study as much and then they don't know as much. They just guess better. And it's nice to be able to guess well, but it's not useful outside 1 or 2 teachers' classes. So, there it is. That's your advice for the day on multiple choice questions. Look at your questions very carefully. Make sure the roots are long and the stems are short, and make sure the right answer is the longest stem only about a third of the time. That's it for today. I hope you have a glorious day today, and take care of yourself, you gorgeous people.